that we seek God first in our lives, especially when at times, and it's why is it so important that we seek God first, no matter what we're going through in life? And is that even possible? I remember being so upset. And I've talked about this before, but I want to go a little deeper with you all today. I remember being so upset when I just didn't have the answers in life, and things were just going just in all different directions. I just remember my kids, they were acting up left and right. My marriage was definitely hanging by half of a thread. And I don't know about you all, but I'm a hard worker. I've always worked. I've worked since I was 13 years old, and I'm well in my 50s now. But I remember working so hard and so late, so many nights trying to fix problems on my own. Hang on, let me turn this volume up on here because I'm seeing you guys come into the community. You guys can just say hi. Let me know if you see me because I'm on a couple different platforms at one time. And I'm going to say hi to you guys in a minute. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. I just remember so many times of trying to figure it all out on my own. And I was still praying and going to church. So there never was a time in my life where I wasn't going to church or praying because, my grandfather ministry, my mama minister, my sister, just about everybody in my family is deacons and ministers. And so I always grew up in the church. I actually grew up in the country, to be honest with you, down south, way down south in Arkansas. But anyway, I just remember trying to figure things out. And I remember when someone was approaching me about seeking God first in my life, and I was just so upset because I thought the audacity, when you feel like you're underwater and you feel like there's so much happening in your life, like how is it possible? Is it really even possible to seek God first? So that's what I want to talk about. I'm going to read a little bit from my book, Necessary. It looks like there's a glare coming through on my camera here on this platform. I don't know what that is. It looks like some sort of a rainbow has come across my face on one of these screens. So maybe it's just the glory of God because I see a rainbow and I can't seem to get rid of it. But anyway, let me just say hi to you guys before I get started. Let me get my glasses. I see people saying good afternoon, Z. Blessings to you. Hi, Amy. Hi, Antonia. Hi, Alicia. Someone says hello. I see you. Hey, Carolyn. Let me see who else is here on this platform. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but what a beautiful name. Otamanyira says, happy to see you. See Jana saying hello, Divine saying hello. Okay, good. I'm glad to see you all. So you guys know none of this stuff is planned. I mean, I'm sitting here at home and I was once again asking God, how do I lift you and how do I help your people? And I was thinking through just all of the ups and downs. I was thinking a lot through Necessary, how God put me through so much to write this book. And then I was thinking through the chapter in my book, which I'm going to read in a minute, the chapter called Seek God First. And it's only in hindsight that sometimes you're really able to see, oh my goodness, all this time I was doing my best to figure this out. But here's the secret. Let me give you the spoiler alert for those who can't stay live with me for too long, because I'm going to take my time today. I'm at home, it's Sunday, so I'm just going to take my time. But the spoiler alert is all of the secrets, all of the wisdom, everything that you're searching for, it lies with God. Now, I know I sound like some religious woman saying that, and you guys know I'm not a licensed minister. I'm just a woman who loves God with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. But I'm telling you as a living witness, all of it lies with Him. That doesn't mean you don't get wisdom from books and coaches and mentors and all of that. But there's something that happens when we put pressure on His integrity. That's probably the best way I can put it. So I want to read a little bit from Seek God First. Let me just say hi to a few more people, and then I just want to get going in my book a little bit. Seeing someone says, hi from Trinidad. Oh my goodness, all the way from Trinidad. Say hi to my kids, AJ and Lauren. They are listening with me. Hey, AJ. Hey, Lauren. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Seeing Marcy from Trinidad. It's just amazing that you can go live and speak to people all over the world. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get started. For those who have their book Necessary, I want you to pull your books out. For those who don't have it, it's on Amazon as a paperback. It's on my website at Zenja Glass as a audiobook. And pretty soon if it's God's will, and I truly believe it is, I'm going to be launching like a workshop. It's going to be a workshop centered around the whole book so that I can go through the entire book in a community with people. But I'll talk about that once I launch that, hopefully in the next week or so. Turn to the chapter called Seek God First. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Now, I'm giving you guys a little bit of a heads up. I do want to start going through some of the other chapters in here. Some of these chapters are pretty difficult to deal with, especially if you guys have my book, you already know what I'm talking about. One of the chapters called Head of Household, and you guys know what happened in that chapter. The other chapter called Horseback Ride, which details some abuse and some things that I went through, also abuse that I witnessed. So I got to pray for God with wisdom with how to approach some of that because I don't want to trigger anyone. So I'm not skipping around purposely, but I kind of am because I want to be careful with what I read through live online. So Seek God First, chapter 4, that's on page 46. I want everybody to turn there. Turn to page 46, Seek God First. First, I'm going to read the affirmation. You guys know each chapter starts with an affirmation. And I'm not going to read the whole chapter because this, first of all, this book is over 300 pages. But I'm just going to read through a little bit of chapter 4, Seek God First, and we'll see how far we get through because I want to stop and talk to you all a little bit. I don't have anything planned, you guys, just so you know. I just wanted to turn on my camera and start talking to somebody. So I pray that somebody was looking to be encouraged. And I pray that whatever God is about to put in my heart to say, that it encourages you. So I'm going to read the affirmation first. Chapter 4, and again, I'm reading from my book, Necessary. Okay, listen to me. This is the affirmation for Seek God First. Even when I don't feel your presence and all the troubles of life seem to overwhelm me, I will search for you. I will search for you as though for hidden treasures. Because your presence in my life is of far more value than anything I can ever hold in my hands. Even when I don't understand your plan for my life and everything in me wants to give up, I will search for you. You are worth searching for. You are my deliverer, my waymaker, my refuge, my only God. That's the affirmation. Thank you for the roses, baby. I saw that. Thank you so much, Flexness. I appreciate it, baby. So chapter 4. Woo, Lord, give me some wisdom here. I'm just going to read through a little bit. We'll jump around. I'll stop and talk to you and see if you guys have questions or comments. And, let's just consider this as just family time. Again, there's not like I have a lesson plan, but I just want to talk to you. So I'm going to read from chapter 4. You all can turn to page 46 from my book, Necessary, and read along with me. And I am going to jump around a little bit. I'll never forget the day I went to a women's Bible study group led by some amazing facilitators. It was based on the book Spiritual Discovery, 7 Principles for Spiritual Growth by co-authors Virginia Leffler and Kathy Hyman. I was there to talk about my problems, my issues with my marriage, my concerns with my children, my financial woes, issues with people who hurt me, and so much more. Now listen to this. I just knew if my circumstances changed, then my life would be better and I could finally experience the peace and joy I so desperately was seeking. So there I was sitting in a Bible study group ready to talk about everything that everyone had done wrong to me. They gave an overview of the topics we would be discussing, such as revisiting our childhood memories. Now that was a big no for me. I can just tell you that right now. I didn't even get to that part in the chapter. But at least in my case, when you feel like life is on fire and everything is going wrong, the last thing on my mind was going back visiting some doggone childhood memories. I was like, you have got to be joking. But let me keep reading. So there I was sitting in a Bible study group ready to talk about everything that everyone had done wrong to me. They gave an overview of the topics we would be discussing, such as revisiting our childhood memories and taking God with us to painful times in our lives so that we can go back and get the truth. Then they started talking about the importance of sitting in silence before God and listening to the Holy Spirit. Now, that was interesting. Keep in mind, I've been in church my whole life. And, I know God speaks to us and all of that, but I really didn't have many experiences with being able to say I actually heard from God. So I was like, okay, whatever. But at this point, I'm ready to try anything. After everyone in the group had their turn to share about their circumstances, the facilitator of the group had the nerve to focus the discussion on the importance of seeking God first. It took everything in me to keep from going completely off on her. I thought to myself, how is it possible to seek God when my finances are falling apart? How is it possible to resort to meditation and prayer when my marriage was on the brink of divorce? And how in the world is it possible to walk in faith when I'm dealing with major health issues in my family? Now, many of you know I lost my son since then, but he was really going through a lot at that time with his sickle cell crisis and eventually his bone marrow transplant. And who has time to seek God first when their children are going through things and life seems to be falling completely apart? It was just too much to comprehend because I felt I couldn't add anything else to my to-do list. And yes, in case you are wondering, I went to church on a consistent basis. I loved God and I prayed and read my Bible and did all that stuff we as Christians are supposed to do. But taking on that stance of sitting with God and seeking his divine direction in the midst of my storms was just too passive for me. My situations required fast actions because nothing seemed to be getting better in my life. I was consumed with worrying about my circumstances, and I didn't see how seeking God first was going to solve anything. By the end of that first session, I was so angry. Who in the world has time to be still when they're doing their best to keep their heads above water? Can anyone relate to that so far? Someone says, here now, thanks for the invite. This will complete my night here in England. Welcome, CW. Someone says, hi, Z from Trinidad. That's Anne Marie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me just see some other comments here. I'm seeing, oh, I can't even pronounce the name. Clementine, I think it is. Sister Love in the house. Love you, love you, love you, my amazing, amazing, amazing sister. This is my Karen story. Someone is saying, hello, beautiful. Hi from Georgia. Okay, I'm going to keep reading a little bit, you guys. So where did I leave off? I'm in my book, Necessary for Those Who Have It. Turn to page 47. We just having a little bit of a family talk, nothing seriously planned. We just talking to each other. So anyway, this is when I was invited to a Bible study. This was years ago. Life was falling completely apart. And the last thing on my mind was trying to hear somebody telling me about seeking God first, especially when I knew that I was already seeking him, but it wasn't working, you know? So anyway, let me just keep reading here. So I remember thinking to myself, they must not have any real issues they are dealing with if that's the best solution they could come up with. Who has time to sit still and fight in the spirit when chaos is all around them? Is that even possible? And in regard to revisiting my past, that was a big no for me. Who on earth has time to focus on their past when they can barely breathe in their present atmosphere? I thought again to myself, did they not hear a single word out of my mouth? I attended these Bible sessions to come from under my pain, not to sit in it. So I left, disturbed, irritated, saddened, and very angry. Thank you for the roses, Candace. Thank you, baby. I left that Bible study session and I distinctly recall telling the facilitator, I won't be back. These women are too weak for me to deal with. I have major issues going on and I don't see what my past has to do with any of this, nor do I have the luxury of sitting silently before God and doing nothing when all hell has broken loose in my life. I pray to God all the time. He's the only reason I made it this far. But I don't have time to just be sitting around in silence, digging up the past and waiting for some magical answer to appear. And that's almost a quote verbatim, you guys. That's what I said to them. You know, I can laugh at it now, but at the time it was not funny. Because I was like, look, y'all got the luxury of sitting around all day just praying and waiting and hoping for some answer. But in the meantime, my life's falling apart. You know, I don't know how I'm going to take care of my kids. I got bills left and right coming in. You know, my marriage is falling apart. My son is sick. You know, so to hear someone talk to me about, Z, you really got to put God first and seek him first. It really, I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but it just made me so, let me just slow down because I'm not rushing for anyone. It just made me so upset because it was almost as if I was feeling like, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one. Y'all tell me if it's just me. But it made me so upset because I was feeling like, how dare you tell me to seek God first when God is the only way I'm able to keep my head above water now? So I felt a little bit of that. But then I also felt a little bit of, yeah, I don't really have time of seeking him first because he ain't speaking back. He ain't moving fast enough. Can somebody relate to that? Oh, baby, I'm going to be praying for you. Someone said they were diagnosed with cancer. They're scared. Baby, I'm going to put you in prayer. I can relate. What you just read is where I'm at now. I'm glad to hear that, JD, because maybe God had me go live just for you. Thank you, Joe Sung, for the roses. Thank you, baby. Maybe God had me go live just for you, baby. Jacqueline says, I'm feeling this. I can relate to this. Okay, watching from Seattle, love your book. Thank you, baby. Thank you. For those who are just joining, Catherine says, Z, hi. Thank you for such a timely message. Alicia said, no, it's not just you. Okay, so it's good to know it's not just me. It's good to know that, because that's exactly what I was feeling. Someone says, yes, I can relate. That's Giovanni. Faithful to God says, this is how I feel now. Okay, so you guys are picking up what I'm laying down. Now, for those who are just joining, my name is Zenja Glass. Feel free to call me Z. And I'm reading from my book, Necessary. I don't have nothing planned. This is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. And we just gonna call this a family talk. Maybe I'll try to go live every Sunday around this time so we can have a time set. But anyway, let me kind of keep going. So for those who are just joining, I'm reading from my book, Necessary. And I'm reading the chapter, I think it's chapter 4, called Seek God First. And I'm reading about when everything in my life was falling apart. And I was challenged to seek God first. And I was extremely angry. Someone says, what is the name of your book? It's called Necessary, baby. And it's on Amazon as a paperback. And it's also on my website at Zenja Glass. It's in my bio thing, but as an audiobook and as a video book now. That's up now. I made that back live. Okay, let me keep going. Where was I at, you guys? Somebody tell me where I left off. Okay, I think I left off on page 48. I'm just going to jump around a little bit. Okay, so I basically was just saying, look, I don't have time to be sitting around in silence, digging up the past and waiting for some magical answer to appear. I went on to say, first, I need to take care of all the issues in my life so I can have the strength, the peace, and the willpower to even think about focusing on myself, my past, and of all things, sitting in silence before God. Once I have figured out what I need to do, then I'll have enough peace in my life to do all that other stuff. Anybody ever felt that? So follow me a second, because I'm not rushing right now. Anybody ever felt like there's just way too much going on right now? I first need to figure out how I'm going to make it. I need to figure out like which direction life is heading and what I'm going to be doing and a million other things on my plate before I really be trying to put God like as the center of it all. Like, I know we say God is the center of it all. I don't think anybody on here would probably say I don't say that, right? But I'm talking about seeking him first and like spending time in that secret place with him in silence, like really going all in on, you know what, God, let me just put you first in everything and sit with you. That's what I'm talking about. So, oh my goodness, where did I leave off? My marriage was falling completely apart, and by that time, I felt it was nearly impossible to avoid all the arguments we were having on a consistent basis. I just could not understand how it was possible to be married yet feel so alone. We went from being a lighthouse, guiding and mending other families, to becoming like strangers living under the same roof and for a period of time in separate rooms. We were giving our love and attention to others while neglecting our marriage. And to be clear, I certainly did my part to contribute to the divisiveness, lack of love, and discord that nearly destroyed us. Our families were greatly divided. Now, that's an understatement. I should have wrote a little bit more in there when I wrote that chapter. When I say greatly divided, our families like literally were not even speaking to each other. That's just how bad it was. We had some extremely bad fights. I had to end some friendships, and to make matters worse, our children were being negatively impacted, and it influenced their behavior in at school. Now, I should have wrote a little bit more on that as well. You know it's bad when the police know your name. I'm just keeping it real with you guys, because you're not going to put me in some box as just some religious woman. You know it's bad when the police know your name or know the names of your kids because they don't came out so many times or we don't been at the police station. That's just how bad it was. Now, on the outside, you couldn't tell, because on the outside, I was looking good. Lord have mercy. Outside, I was looking good. Still going to church, going to work with my little company, I was running, doing my thing. Nice little place. Everything looked good on the outside. That's why you can't judge people by what you see on the outside. That's why I'm really not that crazy about social media, because you can get on there and look and everything looks so good, but my life was falling completely apart and barely anybody even knew it except for just a few close friends and these women I was in a Bible study group with. And I know this is the case with a lot of people because by God's grace, I've led many, many, many 30-week discussions. Yes, we used to meet for 30 weeks at a time. With women, I would have them come to my office. We would sit. I didn't charge them nothing. It was totally free of charge. But I would do that for 30 weeks at a time. I was trained to be a facilitator. Anyway, I won't get into all of that. But for 30 weeks at a time to walk people through dark seasons and to help push them and get them out on the other side. But anyway, and the vast majority of the women that would come to those sessions, I would be like, well, why is this person here like she's got it all together? And in every single case, their lives were falling completely apart, but nobody knew it. It looked good on the outside. So anyway, let me keep going. I'm just talking to you guys. Let me just see. Right now, someone says your son is in jail. I'm sorry to hear that, baby. Let's lift him in prayer. Someone says you're talking to me. Sister Love says, my God, you never know. That's right. You never know. Alicia says, many times I feel forgotten. Ooh, I wish I had. See, Alicia, you're going to make me stop reading this and go to the chapter in my book called Hidden. And I'll jump in a moment. Anybody that's been following me for a while, by the way, I've got a podcast called Unlocking Greatness Podcast with Zenja Glass. So anybody's been following me, and I know a lot of you have, you guys know I would deviate in a minute and come back. But baby, I wish I could spend some time with you and go through that chapter in my book called Hidden, where you just feel forgotten and you feel like God ain't even answering and responding, and it feels like punishment. But it's really not punishment. He's hiding you and he's getting you ready. You got to build up those spiritual muscles. You got to like how David was out there in the field taking care of sheep and all of that mess. Baby, he was mastering how to use a slingshot. Because he needed it later to defeat Goliath. He was mastering how to play that lyre and that harp because he needed it to play it before King Saul. But I'm going to have to come back to you another time, baby. I wish I could dive on that now. I'm trying to stay on this chapter, but you're not forgotten. Now, if you do have my book, you go to that chapter called If I Were Your Enemy, and I want you to read that tonight because that's a chapter where I kind of play on the words a little bit, that if I was your enemy, I would make you feel like God has forgotten you. I would make you feel like, this, because I wouldn't want you to know this. So it's a really, really good chapter to read to see how the enemy works behind the scene, because he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So Alicia, I want you to read that chapter if you haven't read it. If you don't have the paperback book, which it is on Amazon, on my website at Zenja Glass, the audiobook and the video book is there, but please listen to that chapter, baby. Let me see here. Someone said, this is me now, a single mom, drowning in debt, middle of divorce, cars breaking down, going through all this along with our friends and family, every area of my life's falling apart. I'm gonna tell you something. Because again, this is a family talk. So I don't know your first name, but I want to talk to you. And then she said in the next message, I've definitely been forgotten. You're going to either really, really love me or really not like me after I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Baby, when I went through that season in my life, when almost everything you said was happening to me, I had no idea that was strange favor God was showing me. Now, don't get in the chat and be trying to go off about me saying that. You got to read that chapter, Strange Favor, to see what I'm getting at. I had no idea that God was moving people out of the way that didn't need to be in those positions, baby. I had no idea. Oh, hey, Cynthia, that's the name. I had no idea what God was doing. Now, you're going to make me deviate and read my chapter called Strange Favor just from your comments, because I so want to get in there and pick you up right now. I had no idea what God was doing in that moment, baby. Now, it wasn't just a moment. I wish I could tell you it was. This was like a decade. And that probably ain't going to encourage you, but I'm being honest. This went on for years. But, ooh, Lord, how God was moving through it all. He got people out of the way that didn't need to be there. When everything was tumbling down in my finances, everything, and I couldn't figure out how to make money, how to do anything, and I began to dwell with God and sit in that secret place, totally surrendered at that point, because I tried everything, cussing people out, working to the wee hours of the morning. Baby, I tried everything I knew to do. When I tell you that God began to speak to me and show up and show out, when I would sit in my closet. If you don't, I don't know if you listen to my podcast, baby, but please just go back and listen to my podcast. There's one episode called, I think it's called My Testimony. Listen to all of them. But anyway, start with that one. And then go and look up that podcast episode called Seek God First. And it's got a question mark behind it. Because I could talk to you for 40 minutes right now nonstop. But I know other people are waiting for me to finish this chapter. But the end part of that is God began to speak to me. And he began to give me this secret wisdom that I didn't even know existed, baby. I felt like God had forgotten about me. I really did. I was like, this don't make no sense. Even when I'm trying to do right, it seemed to be getting worse. What the heck is going on? But I didn't know it was an invitation from God. I didn't know he was calling me closer to him. I didn't know he wanted to just spend some time with me. And I'm like, God, we got all these fires going on. Life is falling completely apart. How is it that you can't just fix it? I talk about that in my book, Necessary. And I'm not trying to promote a book. I'm just making a point. I talked about that in my book as well. I says, I didn't understand. That's why you need to read that chapter on strange favor. I said, I didn't understand how a God could be so loving. And why can't he just fix the problem and make it better? But baby, I didn't know if he would have came along at those times and fixed everything, especially at those times without me growing and learning and digging deeper roots with him. I wouldn't be, first of all, I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I definitely wouldn't have written the book because I wouldn't have survived it. I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't have come out on the other side from it. And so I see now the fruit he produced through it all. When he let my business completely go down, when I didn't even know. I remember sitting in the parking lot at my kids' school, like, I don't even have the money to pay their, little fees you got to pay for them to start the new year off. I didn't even have that. And I'm like, how is it possible, God? I'm praying to you and I'm coming to you and I'm trying to do what's right. And look at me now. So, baby, I wish I could spend more time with you. I really, really do. But I want you to please read that chapter called Strange Favor. Because, baby, when God sends that favor in your life, it don't look like favor. It look like hell, and it look like life is falling completely apart. I'm still with you guys. I'm still here. I just got to talk to her a minute. But it looks like life is falling completely apart, don't it? Where you can barely, at least in my case, mind racing all through the night. I wasn't even able to rest well. But baby, I'm going to be lifting you in prayer. And I pray to God that he begins to speak to you and give you that strange favor, give you that wisdom. It takes only one ideal or one thing for God to tell you to do that to change things completely around. And another thing I want to tell you, I know I don't deviate it. Y'all just got to wait a second. But another thing I want to tell you, sometimes he'll have you do things and you're like, well, why do you want me doing that? He had me going around getting items and selling stuff on eBay just to make a little bit of extra spending money. I talk about that in here too. And I'm like, wait a minute. Here I am, a business owner. I got a master's degree. How is it that I'm going around the garage sales and getting mess trying to sell stuff on eBay? That ain't even making sense. And then God had me, oh, girl, I just wish I could spend some time with you. Shortest version is he used that situation to have me meet somebody while I was in the middle of doing all those garage sales, who then introduced me to another platform that I start selling on. Then he began to bless that platform and introduced me to another thing to do and pushed me way up front. God literally worked through, he had to bring me so low because I wasn't right either. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. I was a trip on a good day, even though I didn't see it at the time. But God had to bring me so low to build me back up because he couldn't put new wine into old wineskins. So when I tell you, he had to completely just completely let me come all the way down to the ground. Then he built me back up, baby. Now, I wish I can keep going through it. She said, what do we do about the pain? Because going in rhythms hurts. I cry every day. That's what I was doing. I sat in my closet, couldn't even pray, and just sat there and cried before God and said, God, if you can't do it, it won't be done. I don't even know who I am. Like, show me who I am before you. What is it that you want me to do? And I literally would sit. If you don't have my book, I don't even know how I can do this. Some kind of way I want you to message me. Maybe you can message me through the app that you're on, because I'm on 3 different platforms right now, and I don't want to lose. There's so many other people on here. But if you don't have my book, and I'm talking to the specific person, Cynthia, I want you to figure out a way to message me so I can get an autographed copy to you. In fact, you guys, I'm going to have my shop up and my TikTok shop up soon. I just got on that, and I'll be able to sell my books directly, autographed copies. But I want to make sure I get a copy to you if you don't already have it. So Cynthia, you let me know. Okay, so you do have my book. Okay, good. All right, so I want you to read those chapters. All right, you guys, I'm back. I took a little bit of a turn because I was feeling what someone else was saying, and I just had to talk to her. Is anyone getting this? Is this helping anybody? Jacqueline says, love you, Z. I heard your testimony. So much of God's straits. Amen, amen, amen. Junique says God has to make us uncomfortable before we become comfortable. That's love from Antigua. Wow. Amen, amen, amen. Before we become comfortable. That's right. That's right. Let me read a little bit more because I got a little off track. What chapter was I in, you guys? Seek God first. Tell me what page I was on for those who have the book. My God. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Give me wisdom and strength. I love your people, God. Please show me how to lift you and how to help your people. Okay, I think I'm on page 48. I'm not going to read page by page because I'd be reading for, a very long time. And I've already been live for 20 something minutes. So let me just see. Where did I leave off? I think I was talking about my marriage and my kids and so let me just pick up in the middle of that paragraph. Our families were greatly divided. I had to end some friendships, and to make matters worse, our children were being negatively impacted, and it influenced their behavior at home and school. It was all a huge mess. I became very angry and resentful because no matter how hard I tried to make things better, nothing seemed to change. As you can probably imagine by now, the very thought of going back to those Bible sessions and sitting with those women I perceived to be weak was not something I had in mind, because I was convinced that if I went that route, I would become a doormat for others to walk over and treat as they please. And I want to pause on that one. We may only get through a third of this chapter because I don't want to rush through it too quickly. Has anyone ever felt that, man, God, if I put him first and I really do what he want me to do, I feel like I'm going to be treated like a doormat because I already know he going to want me to, be loving and forgiving and blah, 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 right? And I literally was feeling like I'm going to become a doormat. And if I put God first in my life, and I know that sounds odd, but I literally was taking, like, I don't want to say taking advantage of, but people walking over me. So I don't know. When someone says I'm in that season right now. Okay. All right. So you guys get this. Lee Jean says yes. Okay, you get that. So that's where I was at. Because I was like, something ain't right with this. I feel like I'm going to be a doormat. So anyway, what page was I on? Oh, you guys got me going. Where did I leave off? I'm in Seek God First. Okay, so the very thought, of going back to that Bible study, made me feel like I would be a doormat. Okay, I'm going to pick up here on page 49. For those who are joining, my name is Zenja Glass. I'm reading from my book, Necessary. I'm just reading a little bit from chapter 4 called Seek God First, and I just want to read a little bit more. Okay, so I would become a doormat for others to walk over and treat as they please. I was not about to let that happen. So I left. And I was adamant about not going back again. The only advice I felt I needed at that time was how to fix or end my marriage, how to get my hands on some money, and how to help my children. The thought of sitting still and putting things in the hands of God, and the thought of working on me when I was trying to correct everyone else really ticked me off. But over the next few days, and I think I should have said next few months, because it was several months after that. But over the next few days, God allowed the heat in my marriage and in other areas of my life to turn up very high. I was feeling so out of control that I thought to myself, I have two options. I either need to take my butt back to that Bible study group and learn how to fully surrender everything over to God and walk in his power, or I'm going to end up in jail. Now, that's the honest to God truth, what I felt, because I was so mad, especially at some of the things that was going on at the time. I was just like, God, you're going to have to do something, because I'm just about to, I was just done. I'm just being honest with you guys. Reluctantly, I went back to that Bible session the following week. I was a little embarrassed because I told them I wouldn't return again, but I'm so grateful I showed up and began to do the work that would forever change my life. And God knows you guys wouldn't be sitting listening to me read this book had I not taken my butt back to that Bible session and put things in the hand of God. You wouldn't be sitting here listening to me now, because it was a short time after that. I don't think not even 2-3 years later, when God woke me up in the middle of the night. I'll never forget it, at about 3 a.m. Never forget it. He woke me up and said, I'm going to have you write a book, and it's going to be called Necessary. And I literally saw this image of the book. I kid you not, my name was not on the cover. And that's why my name is not on this cover. It's not because I didn't want it to be on there, because every author does that, but it's because that's exactly what God showed me, and I had to go with what he told me. But anyway, let me get back to this. I began to show up and do the work that would forever change my life. I laid my weapons down at the foot of the cross and finally surrendered all to God. I am a living witness. My life has never been the same since that day. All along, listen to me now, all along, I had it backwards. I thought fighting in the flesh was my only option. I had no idea fighting in the spirit was the primary solution to most of my issues. I pray somebody just heard me. And I pray you ain't sitting there rolling your eyes. Yeah, 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 fighting in the spirit. Baby, I'm not doing this to sell a book. I'm doing this so I can reach somebody that by the time this live is over, you're going to make a decision. Let me get my butt on up in my closet or go for a walk or do whatever I got to do because I'm tired of fighting in the flesh. I got to fight in the spirit. You guys got to remember Ephesians 6:12, the real battle is in the spirit. I see a whole lot of signs coming up. I know that it seems like it's in the physical. I already know that. But the real battle is in the spirit, baby. That's where your real battle is happening. So anyway, let me keep reading. I see a whole lot of comments coming through. Someone is saying amen. Someone says, I used to watch your YouTube videos every day. Well, come on back, Omar. You're welcome to come on back. Someone is saying, yes, I'm going through that time now. Stephanie is saying, I hear you. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of comments come through. All right. So where did I leave off? My God, help me, God, to lift you and help your people. Less of me, more of you, God. Show me how to lift you. Okay, page 49. Where was I at? Okay, so this is when I went back. Okay, so all along I had it backwards. I thought fighting in the flesh was my only option. I had no idea fighting in the spirit was the primary solution to most of my issues. I thought all my circumstances needed to change first. Did you catch that? I thought all of my circumstances needed to change first in order for me to walk in power, peace, and joy. I was wrong. I never really knew the greatest necessary change was always within me. Just to be clear, I absolutely had to set some healthy boundaries, but the greatest impact in every area of my life started when I made the intentional decision to seek God first. Now, let me stop there for just a moment, because I know some people, every now and then you run across somebody is like, well, you don't understand my situation, blah, 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 blah. Listen, you have to apply this in whatever area that is going to work for your life. I had to set some healthy boundaries in my life. There were some major things going on in my life, especially in my marriage and in some friendships and some situations that was just really, really bad. So I'm not making light that, I just basically sat and prayed and didn't do nothing. No, 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 no. I had to draw some hard lines in the sand, just to be very clear. But the primary change in my life came from me surrendering it all and seeking God first. So hopefully that's making sense. Someone says, pray for my son. He's incarcerated. Baby, I will be lifting him in prayer. I'm so sorry to hear that. Stephanie says, I'm hear you. Someone says, how do you fight in the spirit? Well, that's a good question, baby, because we're about to talk about that. How does fight in spirit praying mean? This is what I heard a few days ago. Be intentional about your prayer life. That's right, Antonia. Okay, just keep listening. We'll get to it. I'll see how much I can read, because I think right at about, when I get closer to an hour, for some reason the platform, at least one of them, logs me out. Okay, where was I at? We're looking at reading through necessary. I'm in on page 49. There's no way I'm going to get through all the pages because it's a very long chapter, actually. I don't even think I'm a third through it. But anyway, let me just read a little bit more. Okay. I was already familiar with the Bible passage, and I'm quoting, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. That's Matthew 6:33. That's the King James Version. It was nice to read. It sounded great, but I don't know if I ever really believed in the integrity of that passage, because somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought, it sounds good, but does that really happen? Never in a million years that I believe ever taking the time to go back in my past would be such a healing journey. Revisiting my childhood was the one thing I initially took a strong stand against when I went back to that group. I did not see a need to deal with pain from childhood trauma, and I certainly did not see how it could produce anything of value to me as an adult. Besides, I already had enough on my plate, so why on earth would I want to walk down memory lane and add more pressure to my life? Does anybody understand me on that one? I was like, you have got to be kidding me if you think I'm about to add another thing by revisiting some childhood memories and mess that happened in my childhood. I could barely breathe now. Okay, but listen to it. But this was different. The facilitator reminded me that I didn't have to go back alone. I'll never forget when she whispered to me, this time you get to take God with you. While this process was not easy, it certainly was healing, because through meditation and prayer, I was able to go back to painful or fearful moments that shaped me in the past and find my truth. I never knew the truth could set me free. For example, when I took God back with me to challenging seasons of my life, I would say, God, is it true that I was alone during that time in my life? Or I would say, is it true that I was the protector of my family at such a young age? Thank you for the roses, baby. Now, if you all have read some of my more difficult chapters, especially the chapter on horseback ride, or the chapter on head of household, you already know what I'm talking about. From some very difficult seasons. So I would say, is it true that I was the protector of my family at such a young age? Then I would simply sit in his presence, listen to his response, and receive the truth. I must admit, it took some time and a lot of patience before his truths were revealed to me, because I struggled with sitting silently after praying just to listen. I was so used to praying and then getting up and moving on in life. It was odd for me to pray, ask God for his truth, and then sit and wait for him to speak to me. Now, I don't know if anyone can relate to me on that, but you hear about all these religious people talk about they hear from God, they hear from God. I wasn't hearing nothing. So it was weird to pray. And then what I learned is we're supposed to sit and be silent before God and let him speak. And that was very uncomfortable for me. I couldn't even do it for like maybe 2-3 minutes without thinking through my bills or something going on with the kids, or my husband making me mad or something like that. So it literally took training for me to sit and pray and then sit in silence and just be there. Now, I got to a point where I would lose track of time and I could sit for hours, to be quite honest with you, just in silence. And that's when I began to hear the still small voice begin to speak to me. But we'll get to that later. All right, let's turn to page 51. I don't even know how much to keep reading through this because let me just keep reading. We're probably going to have to do a part 2 and a part 3 and maybe even a part 4. Definitely a part 2 and a part 3 to get through this whole chapter, because I do want to answer some of your questions. But let me just read a little bit more. When I first tried this, it felt so awkward. I remember telling the facilitator that I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, I even questioned if perhaps I was answering my own questions, because there was a moment, I would never forget. I meditated and prayed to God about a very painful experience in my life. Then I sat in silence for a long time and waited for his response. I'll never forget this inward gentle voice that began to give me truths that I never knew before. It was in those moments that I was able to let go and no longer fear my past. I was finally able to embrace my story. I also learned why it was so easy for me as an adult to worry about finances. It was a spirit of scarcity. Listen to me. It was a spirit of scarcity that I never left behind. When I was a child, things were always scarce because my mother received public aid until she completed college. And it wasn't until later in life, around the same time that I graduated from college. Though we never went a day hungry, I recall eating at food shelters, getting meals from churches, and receiving food donations from local organizations. I know how powdered eggs and powdered milk and government cheese taste, because my young mother did her best to raise 3 kids on $192 a month. She was just a child herself when she had me. Her mother passed away when she was only a little girl. My mother did her best to raise her children and provide for her kids with the knowledge she had at that time, and I love her for it. Now, I didn't go through a lot of details with that, but my mom had me really, really, really young. And she was just a baby herself and doing her best to raise 3 kids while on public aid and trying to go to college. As a young girl, I remember moving 22 times in 1 year because my mother was running away from a very abusive relationships and at time couldn't pay rent. I'm sure there were probably other reasons as well, but I was too young to recall all that was happening. So I made a game of it by remembering all the street addresses where we resided. I'll never forget the day I told my aunt I could remember all 22 addresses where we lived, and she broke down in tears. At the time, I didn't understand why she responded that way. I thought she would be proud that I could recite our last 22 or so home addresses that year. As an adult, I now understand the grief she felt in her heart for us. I never paid much attention to that season of my life until I started getting stressed about my finances as an adult during turbulent times. And believe it or not, I stressed about finances in good times as well. It was as if, and I wonder who can relate to this, it was as if I couldn't enjoy the good times because I was always waiting for something unexpected to happen. I'm going to pause there for a minute. I remember this like it was yesterday when I was talking to my aunt, and God rest her soul. She passed away not too long ago. And I just remember reciting all of the addresses, and I was just naming them, and I was so proud. Thank you, Candy, for the roses. Thank you, Victoria. I actually thought she would be proud that I can remember all the street addresses because we moved 22 times in 1 year, and God knows I'm telling the truth with this. And I would just remember my aunt just I remember the look on her face, but it's only as an adult now I'm able to see the grief that she felt. That, oh my God, these kids are being bounced around. Now, my mother was a good woman. Don't get me wrong. I love my mother. You talk about an amazing woman who later in life became a minister. Everyone knows her. She was a giver. She fed the homeless, fed the poor, took care of people who were disabled. My mother was beyond phenomenal. But when I tell you she went through a lot raising us up through those years and being abused herself and going through a lot of abuse. And so, unfortunately, as a result, there were times where we moved a lot. And I won't even go into more of that. JN, thank you so much for the roses, baby. But I remember that. So I didn't understand as an adult, and this is why I brought up the childhood thing. I didn't understand that I was still holding on to a lot of that and that spirit of scarcity. And sometimes I still have to be careful with that. Sometimes I still would start to worry about something. I'm like, what are you worried about? You've got enough money to take care of your kids, but I still would worry about that. I didn't realize that there was a spirit of scarcity that I kept with me because we didn't have nothing. And my mother survived off $192 a month. I remember because I saw those welfare checks almost every month when she would get them. They didn't do direct deposits back then, baby. Your check used to come in the mail, but that's another subject. But anyway, so that's what I was referring back to. I had to go back to many of those scary places and take God with me to find his truth, to seek healing, to get my power back, and to bring it to the presence. My past explained why, as an adult, I worked diligently and pushed myself to go above expectations by excelling in everything I did. I always worked long hours and pushed myself to go beyond what most people would do because deep inside, I was fearful of not having enough. Eventually, I resigned from my corporate job and became a fearless entrepreneur and business owner. But no matter how much I achieved or acquired, I lived in constant fear of scarcity and instability. As the economy began to tumble, now see, here's where the connection is going to come now for those who've been listening this entire time. As the economy began to tumble, and this was years ago, back when the market just completely collapsed, I started worrying about my finances, and without realizing it, I defaulted to my old childhood memories when we moved from house to house. I started making decisions out of panic instead of being led by the Holy Spirit and walking in wisdom. Now, hopefully you're beginning to see the strings that are tied together with this. This is why, and I know that God led me to talk about my childhood memories before I can talk about what happened. When the economy tumbled, and we went from doing well to having literally nothing, right? And then you got kids you're taking care of, and one who was in the hospital almost every couple of weeks due to his severe sickle cell pain. So just imagine going through that, and imagine like, okay, how are we going to have the insurance to take care of my child? So we were going through all of that. So I defaulted back to how I grew up when we had all that instability. And so I began to be in like a panic, if that's making sense. I see a whole lot of messages coming through. Nadia says, I hear you. I began to default to, I got to fix it, right? And that's when I was working to the wee hours of the morning. I was literally working myself to death and thinking myself to death, trying to figure out what I got to do because I can't let my kids go through what I went through. Does that make sense? Let me see, can someone relate to this? Your messages are always so on time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you, May. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Someone says, woo, I can't sit still. I be speaking to God and he don't talk to me, but I know I need to be still. It's been hard. Let me just tell you something on that, Sparkle. One of the things that I do is in order, and I even did this today when I was leaving for church, because I was trying to listen to some gospel music. I like to go into praise and worship before I even go to church. That's another subject. I have to force my soul to sit in the presence of God. And the way that I do that is I play my gospel music. I don't know what works for you, but I either play like a sermon or two of someone that I listen to, that I follow, that I like, or I literally play some of my favorite gospel songs, some of my favorite gospel music. And I would let it play in the background and almost force myself to go into worship. So I have all of my favorite gospel songs on like, whatever you call that, Amazon thing you call it, and I would have it play it. So that's what kind of helps get my spirit just in the mode of sitting still. So I don't know if that helps you, Sparkle, but sometimes I have to do that. I don't always sit alone in complete silence in my closet. I do about 90% of the time, but there are times when I feel like, okay, I'm just not there. My mind keeps wandering. That's when I bring in my gospel music, or I'll play a sermon or something, and I literally would play it at least a good hour or two, to be honest with you. And I forced my soul. I said, you're going to sit down in the presence of God. And I forced my soul to sit in his presence. So hopefully that helps you. Someone says, love you, Z. Raina says, yep, I deal with that often. I'm concerned that I call that lack into my life. You got to be careful with the words you speak, because your words are prayers. So I'm glad that you said that. You got to be very, very careful. Yes, that allows me to get in the spirit. Okay, so someone's understanding what I'm saying. And a shout out to, I don't know if she's on this live now. I think her name is Kelly. Think her name is Kelly. She's one of the reasons why I decided to go live. She posted a review on my book on TikTok, a beautiful, beautiful review. I didn't even ask her to do it. And I saw it and I said, you know, you really encouraged me. I says, I think I'm going to go live and encourage some other people. So if you're still with me, I just want to thank you for that amazing review. And by the way, thank you all for the reviews you've been posting. If you post it on your TikTok or Instagram or wherever whatever social media channel, please tag me, because that's what she just did. And that really encouraged me so much. But thank you all. Someone says, yes, gospel music does it for me. Okay, so let me go back to, I'm already at about 50 minutes. Let's do this. I'm probably going to end up doing a part 2 to this. I want to see, can I read on just a little bit more? My God. Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Let me jump around a little bit. Okay, let's jump on to page 54. I'll just read just a little bit more. Because I've heard some people say, how can you do this when you're in such a negative environment? And I want to address that. Let me just jump down to the end of that. Okay, so on page 54, I'm just skipping several paragraphs, but I want to address when people have asked me, well, Z, how do you do that when you're in a negative environment and you know, people ain't acting right and this and that. So I said, as a practical example, I never knew I had the power to have a joyful, peaceful day, even if someone had a bad attitude or used the silent treatment as a way to discourage me. I always thought I had to join that dance by matching their negativity or by trying to win the favor of someone who clearly didn't want to communicate to me. I never knew I was giving other people the power to determine what kind of day I would have, because if they were in a bad mood, I naturally followed suit. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like you had to brace yourself before walking into your workplace or your home because you didn't know what mood someone might be in? It can be very discouraging, right? Your demeanor may totally change from happy to dismal because you already know somebody will have an issue with something or perhaps be in a negative mood. I didn't know I could rise above my circumstances with Jesus Christ, Yeshua, by my side, and look at what was happening almost in great amazement. As I watched what the enemy was trying to do, he was trying to lure me to the dance floor and grieve my spirit. I soon realized I didn't have to participate in that dance with anyone. I had a choice to exit the dance floor, to walk away with grace, dignity, and power as I praised and worshiped God instead of responding to negativity with negativity. So instead of reacting as I naturally would, I simply went higher by developing healthy boundaries for myself and inviting the presence of God into the room. Instead of joining the dance, I would read my Bible. I went on a walk. I prayed in my closet, worked on the creative plan that God gave me, played my favorite worship songs and sang to God with a huge smile on my face and so on. I did whatever it took to bring the presence of God into the environment so that I would change. Hold on, I'm not done. Let me say that again. I did whatever it took to bring the presence of God into the environment so that I would change. And when I changed, the atmosphere had to adjust to me, baby. I threw the baby in there. That baby part ain't in my book. The atmosphere had to adjust to me. The new me, that is. The new me who rose to a higher level. My God, thank you, Jesus. The new me who refused to bow down and dance with the enemy. Looking back, it seemed so funny to me that I thought running to God was a sign of weakness. I was so sure he would turn me into a doormat. And to be honest, for a moment, I certainly felt that way. My version of walking in love and humility, thank you, baby. Thank you for the roses. My version of walking in love and humility looked like a passive, weak person who would let anyone do anything to them. But that was not the case at all. Nor was it true of the women from that Bible study group who I thought were too weak for me to befriend. Those women turned out to be some of the strongest, wisest, and most amazing women I know to this day. Now, I'm going to stop there for a moment so you guys can catch up with me. I was addressing situations where I've heard a lot of people say, well, let me just speak for myself. I was addressing situations where I felt like I can't be happy and have joy and have peace if I got to deal with this person. You know, if I got to deal with this attitude, like what's wrong today? Can you be happy today? Anybody can relate to that? Can you be happy today? So that's what I was dealing with. Is like, how do I adjust in an environment where someone is being so negative? I didn't realize I had a choice. I thought if you got a bad attitude, I got to match that energy. That's what I thought. I thought I got to match it. Does that make sense? I didn't know that I had a choice. I didn't know that that was the enemy luring me to the dance floor. I didn't realize that that was a dance that was happening. Does that make sense? I had no idea. I thought that, you know, imagine being at work or being in any kind of an environment. I was like, I thought that I can't have joy and peace if you sitting over here with an attitude. I didn't realize that my sister used to teach me this. I hope that she's still on the live. My sister used to teach me. She used to say, baby, you've been set free and you don't even know it. When someone don't want to talk to you or got a bad attitude or giving you the silence treatment, you've been set free. And I was like, what? And that just really encouraged me to understand that I was given the freedom to go and worship God, work on that creative business plan God gave me, go on a nice little walk, go up in my room, open up my Bible, do whatever I need to do and be set free from it. I didn't have to be lured on that dance floor. So when you look at situations like that, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, but maybe this will help somebody. When you look at situations like that where someone's always got an attitude or someone's walking around giving you the silent treatment, next time I want you to look at it with amazement. That's what someone taught me years ago. She says, you got to look at it with amazement, like, wow, that's really interesting. You can even think of it like, wow, that's really interesting that you're not mature enough to actually speak the words and talk and express what's going on with you. But since if you got an attitude, that's amazing what the enemy is trying to do. The enemy is trying to steal my peace and my joy and make me go, tit for tat, right? I'm not going to go on that dance floor. So when you begin to look at it like a dance, I was like, oh, I'm not about to dance. I'm not going to join that party. Let me take my little butt on upstairs because I've been set free. I got a podcast episode on that called You Have Been Set Free. You can go to my YouTube channel and you'll find it. And when I began to see that, and I used to teach that to these women in these 30-week group sessions I used to do for them, literally everything changed for me. Everything began to change. So anyway, that's what I was referencing to just in that little part of my book. Is this helping anyone? Someone says, Bishop Foreman is my shepherd. I hope someone here could benefit from his sermon as much as I have. Someone says, wow, the atmosphere had to adjust to me. That is right. The atmosphere has to adjust to the new you. The atmosphere has to adjust to the new you. So I love you all. I pray that you guys have been encouraged. I really, really, really do. Hang on one second here. Every now and then, you get somebody that comes in an atmosphere and want to say something negative. So I just had to block somebody that had a lot of negative things to say. Every blue moon it happens. But I love you guys. I pray you've been encouraged. I'm seeing hundreds of people on this live right now. Is there anyone else? I see someone saying, hallelujah, I don't have to dance with the enemy. Someone says, this is what I'm walking into work with tomorrow, the silent treatment, and I ignore her. I'm still me. That's right. You can't let that take your joy. Happy Heart is saying, you're wonderful. Thank you so much. Someone says that podcast helped me a lot. Thank you, baby. My podcast is called Unlocking Greatness Podcast with Zenja Glass. And you can pretty much find it anywhere. It definitely is on my YouTube channel. In fact, I just spoke at an event, a Women's Day conference I was invited to speak at over the weekend. And I actually went live. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see I did a whole class or workshop, whatever you want to call it, is up there now. Someone said, I won't quit tomorrow. Okay, Michelle, we ain't going to quit. All right, baby. Someone says you bring us all up. Thank you, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all. I'm seeing so many messages. Thank you, Zenja, for taking the time with us today. Thank you, Jesus. I needed this. I actually wish that I can go through even more, but I know I've been on for 50-something minutes. And for some reason, when I get to around an hour, one of my platforms locks me out. So I would do my best God willing, if it's God's will, I'll try to go live again tomorrow. I don't even know what time, probably around 6 or 7. But I'm gonna really put before God about trying to go live every Sunday around this time, because this seems to be the most relaxed time for me. I'm not in a rush, and I pray this all has help you. If you have my book Necessary, the chapter Seek God First, because I didn't even get to finish not even half of it. There's a lot of scriptures in the back of it, the recommended reading. Make sure you read all of those. There was Jeremiah 29:13 through 14. I don't know if someone can put that in the feed. That's the passage that says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. And there's another one in Malachi 3:10. It says, test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessings that there would not be room enough to store it. My God, I'm a living witness. Proverbs 3:5 through 6. Someone put this in. Thank you, baby, for putting those scriptures in. Proverbs 3:5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. I didn't even get to talk about all of the things God put in my heart to do and how he completely transformed all those situations that I was in. But that passage is very powerful. Again, that was 1 Corinthians 10:13. God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. And another recommended reading for this chapter was the whole passage on do not worry. That's Matthew 6:25 through 34. I hope you all write that passage down. Matthew 6:25 through 34. That's one of my mom's favorite passages. She used to read that all the time. God rest her soul. My mom was an amazing, amazing, amazing woman of God, amazing minister. And that whole passage is a passage about, I'm paraphrasing, but it's, therefore do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. And it goes on to talk about, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns. And he talks about, look at the lilies of the field. And he talks about not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you? And then he goes on to talk about the pagans run after all of those things. But then I love the ending, because it says, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. It's a long passage, but I committed it to memory because it's such a powerful passage that's helped me through so many times in my life when I'm just like, God, I just don't even know if you're hearing me. Like, this is very difficult to deal with. How am I able to do this? There's another passage I want to show you all. Again, none of this was planned, but I want to read a passage. Write this down, you guys, really quickly. And at First Chronicles chapter 29. I want you all to commit to reading this, verse 11 through 13. And the reason this is important, what I love about this passage, you know, I'd say half of the responses I get, because I get thousands of responses a week, half of the responses tend to be centered around finances, which was a big one for me. I don't know if you all realize God is the one who exalts and lifts. All wealth and honor, all of it is in his hands. So if you knew that there was someone that you can go and sit with, and that person's going to give you the answers, and that person's going to show you where the true treasures are, spiritual and physical, how long would it take for you to go and sit with that person to get to know that person and spend some time with them? How long would it take you? You get my point? Now, for those who just said that they missed the live, it's going to be live on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram. So give it just a few minutes when I'm done going live, and it'll be uploaded automatically on YouTube and on my Instagram. All my handles are my name. It's Zenja Glass, so don't feel bad about missing it. But listen to this passage really quickly. First Chronicles chapter 29, verse 11 says, yours, O Lord, is the greatest. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and the splendor. For everything in heaven and earth is yours. Yours, O Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all. Now listen to verse 12. Wealth and honor come from you. Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things, and your hands are strength and power to exalt and give strength to. Now, our God, we give you thanks and praise your glorious name. There are a gazillion passages in the Bible that talks about how God is the lifter of man. A gazillion, even read through Proverbs when it describes wisdom. Long life is in our right hand, and in our left hand are riches and honor. So it's interesting that sometimes, when we think about going before God, we can think about it for other things, but when it comes to our finances and our resources, that's when we tend to get a little funny, right? At least for me. And we tend to start really stressing out about it. It all belongs to Him. Wealth and honor comes from you. And you all, I'm telling you as living witness, I wish I can read more from my book, Necessary. I'm telling you as living witness, some of the things that God put in my heart to do, even though some of it didn't make any sense and I didn't want to do it at the time, such as starting a podcast. And you guys know I don't like social media. Anyone that knows me personally knows I don't go on social media. When God put in my heart, I need for you to start sharing some of the things I'm talking to you about in this closet. And I'm like, God, I ain't got nothing to give people. I'm a broken vessel myself. Are you joking? My life is falling apart. And you telling me that I'm going to be writing a book? And you telling me to start a podcast? I don't even know how to start a podcast. I'm telling you guys, the Spirit begins to speak to you and guide you and have you do things that have your butt shaking, and you don't even know how it's going to work out. And God just begins to blow on it. It's almost as if, this will be the last thing I say on this. I was talking to God about this the other day. It's almost as if when He knows that what He's going to give you won't have you. Ooh, let me just say that again. It's almost as if, I'm speaking for me, when He knew that He could trust me, when He knew that I wouldn't become this swampland, when He knew that I wouldn't be walking in pride and walking in arrogance, thinking, look what I've built, look what I've done. God had to humble my butt so low. I'm just being honest with you guys. But it's almost as if when He knows that whatever He gives you, it won't have you, He just pours open the floodgates in your life and begins to lift you because your focus is lifting Him. That's why every day I'm like, God, show me. Let me challenge you on this. For the next week, I want you all to be praying if you want to, because I'm not your minister. I'm just talking to you. I'm not a licensed minister, just a woman that loves God. For the next week, I want to challenge everyone to pray. God, show me, how do I lift you? And how do I help others? Just that. Just that. I challenge you to do it. Let me know if you're going to take on that challenge. For the next week, I want you to be praying. I pray that prayer every day. God, how do I lift you? And I always say, how do I help your babies? Because that's just, I call everybody baby. How do I lift you? And how do I help your babies? Just show me that. Because when you're lifting Him, and He knows your focus is to bring glory and honor to Him, baby, there's nothing He won't do for you. You may say, well, Z, show me a passage. Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to give you a passage real quick, because I'm not going to leave you high and dry, which is my little opinion. Turn to 1 Kings chapter 3. This will get your attention, if nothing else will. One of the things about Solomon, even though later Solomon did some mess he shouldn't have been doing, I won't even get into that. Solomon is King David's son. Solomon's the one that wrote a lot of stuff. Even many believe he even wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. But here's what I love about Solomon. Solomon chapter 3. This is in the beginning when he was, appointed to be, king or whatever, when he took over after his father. Solomon said to the Lord, I'm only a child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you've chosen, a great people, too numerous to count. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? Now listen to this. The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. So God said to him, listen to this. Since you have asked for this, and not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment and administering justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart so that there would never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be. Hold on. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both riches and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And if you walk in my ways and obey my statutes and commands as David your father did, I will give you a long life. Then Solomon awoke and realized it had been a dream. And you all know Solomon's story. He went on to be one of the richest, kings that there was. Did you catch that? I want you guys to make sure you marinate on that for a second. It's almost like God is like, oh, since it ain't all about you, and trying to raise just yourself up and all about, what's going on here. And you trying to lift me, you trying to do what's right. In his case, he's trying to administer justice to his people. God is like, not only am I going to do that, but I'm going to bless you over here as well. So I want to give you all just that challenge. I want the challenge to be every single day, add to your prayers, God, how do I lift you with the gifts and talents you've given me? Show me, how do I use my gifts and talents to lift you and be able to serve and help your people? Do that prayer. And secondly, please, you guys, I'm begging you, seek God first. Spend time in his secret place. In my book, Necessary, there's a chapter in here called The Secret Place. I didn't even get to read it, but you guys get the point. The secret place is just sitting in silence before God and saying, God, you got to show me the way to go. I don't try it my way. I'm tired. And for some of you, things may be going well in your life, but you want to just really be in that secret place in him and say, God, anything, I told God the other day, anything that doesn't smell like you, anything that doesn't look like you. I said to him, I think it was last night, I need you to examine my heart and test my heart. Look, examine me. What is it that you see that's not like you? Take it away. Anything that doesn't smell like you and don't look. Is it pride? Is it love of self? Is it worldliness? Is it love of money? Like, what is it? Whatever you see in me that doesn't smell like you, just take it away. I give you permission. Show me, God, how to lift you. That's what I want to do. How do I lift you before the nations, and how do I help your people? When you pray those kind of prayers and you sincerely mean that from your heart, I am telling you, as a witness, listen to me. Someone who, I'm telling you, you've read my book, you already know the mess I've been through and still going through, still grieving the loss of my son. Just so you know, I was at the cemetery just the other day crying like a baby, and then still praising and honoring God. But when you lift God like that, and he knows he's got your heart through good and bad, I am telling you as a living witness, baby, there's nothing that he won't do. So I pray this has encouraged you all. I've talked a little longer than I had thought I was going to talk. Someone says, yes, we'll pray that prayer. Tamika said, I absolutely will. Someone says, what scripture is that again? I think someone already put it in, 1 Kings 3. Okay, so and someone says, I know the feeling. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jessica said, bless you, Z. Thank you, Jessica. Mandy says, I feel encouraged. Amen, Mandy. You're probably one of the main reasons I went live, because this wasn't planned. I just wanted to sit and encourage someone. I hope you all have been encouraged. Thank you for the reviews. All of the reviews you placed on Amazon. I'm so grateful for you guys. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. And thank you all for the video reviews as well, because there's some video view. Hope I didn't get rid of this. There's some video views as well that you all have put up on my book, and I want to thank you for that. Okay, thank you for putting up those video views, just talking about my book. So anytime you do that, if you do put up a video book review, please tag me so that I can go on there and write some comments to you and personally thank you. All right. Someone says, thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can find the book. It's on Amazon as a paperback, and it's on my website, which is just in my bio, but it's in my bio as an audiobook and a video book. And probably within the next couple of days, you'll see I'll have my little shop thing up where you can get an autographed copy, because I went ahead and ordered a couple hundred copies so I can autograph some and send them out directly. So it's on all those platforms. So anyway, I love you all. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'm going to go. All right. I'll talk to you later. Someone says a very good book and very easy read. It just flows so smoothly. Thank you, Jessica. God knows God wrote that book through me, because it's funny. I would get up all through the night. Oh my goodness, it's probably one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. How long did it take? Almost 2.5, 3 years to write it. Anyone who knows me personally know how many times I had to get away, or how many times I had to sit and just cry my heart out because God would get me up in the middle of the night or say, I want you to put that in the book. And I would say, God, I don't want people to know about that. And he's like, this book ain't about you. This book is going to change the world. So literally, when I tell you that he had me pour out my life into this book, it was totally the grace of God. Thanks. Someone says, I'm going to get that autograph book. So for the autograph book, if you go to my website and just go to my Contact Us page, just make a note in there. You can just send a message and just say, please notify me when you get your autograph copy. Because I only ordered about 140 of them or 150. I'm sure they're going to go extremely fast. So if you do choose to go that route, just go to my my website, and make sure you go to the contact us page and just send me a message and just say, hey, please notify me when you get the autograph, and I'll let you know. All right, I love you guys. I hope you've been encouraged. Bye-bye. Greetings from Mexico. Hey, Zola. Nice to meet you. I see some people are just now joining. This is going to be live on my YouTube page and on my Instagram page in just a few minutes. I'll make it live. Thank you for your humble service. You are ordained of God. You don't have to be licensed. Your life is his pulpit. Fruit testifies. Much love. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Restoration Need Ministries. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes I just mention to people that I'm not a licensed minister because I never want to deceive anyone into thinking, you know, I'm a licensed minister or what have you. But I appreciate you telling me that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be reading parts of your books for my students when I purchase it. Amen. They all need it. Mama Bear Fitness says, thank you, Lord bless you. Thank you, thank you. So bless us. Love you too. Thank you, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm seeing a ton of comments come through. I love you guys. Let me see how I'm gonna end some of this. All right, bye-bye. Let me see. How do I end this one? Okay, that's one that I just ended. I think I got two more going on here. I think this is YouTube I'm ending right now. All right, bye, you guys. Someone says, good night, Z. You truly made my Sunday much needed. Thank you, Antonia. I'm so glad you've been encouraged, baby. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to try to go live again, hopefully a couple days this week, but I'm really praying to God that I can be consistent every Sunday at this time, because this time is a very relaxed, comfortable time for me. And maybe every Sunday we can go live around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Love you. Bye-bye.